Hey guys, I just remembered I better press the record button. I'm here with a beautiful friend of mine, Karina Lawrence, and her friends call her Kel. So you guys are welcome to call her Kel. And
Hey.
we're having a chat. A lot of times when I talk to people on these momentum conversations, it's kind of like, we've broken through. We're talking about the daily habits. We're talking about stuff that when it's all working. But I want to have more of these conversations about when it's not. Because we all go through shit, It doesn't mean it's not working in terms of the whole overall story of life and how the infinite oneness is blessing us and all that cool stuff and language we say. But as a human experience, you've been through it. You've been through some freaking gnarly stuff in the last little bit. And I think it's good to have some conversations around that. Because,
Sure.
yeah, really, just really interested. So just tell us about, what do I want to go to first? What were you like as a kid?
Um,
What were you into?
I really, well, dancing,
Mm-hmm.
singing, acting, anything creative, sport, music. I was actually really shy though, surprisingly enough. And then that's why I got into dance. And I think my attitude was always like I wanted to give everything a go, but I was just, you know, I didn't believe in myself enough. So I'd always be like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like I remember doing this surf swim in this nippers, and I was like doing a state tile, and I was very tiny. And the whole time I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I did it. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, interesting how I wanted to, but I didn't really believe in myself enough to just go for it.
It's
Funny.
fun. Oh, it's just a fun one to reflect on us as kids. I like to as well. Just think about what you're.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're in our natural essence. When you think about a tree or,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that natural frequency, and then life smashes it around us a bit, and then we try and do all the different personal development to try and figure out who the fuck we are again. And yeah, it's an interesting
I think
journey.
that's probably like your truth.
Mm.
I reckon if I just had that belief and that support of going, we are doing it, keep going, I probably would have gone, oh, okay, and it was really just me progressing my fear
Mm-hmm.
of maybe I'm really scared to be in the ocean swimming, but I want to do it because I don't want that to beat me. So, I think we project our truth of who we are right back then.
Yeah, I like it. It's an interesting one too because I'm always looking at that thing. Like a lot of times, I have this conversation with people where outwardly they're very successful. Internal dialogue is they're not.
Mm,
I've been there, and
yeah.
it's an interesting one. How do we line up with that essential essence rather than projecting? We're talking about it with positivity and personal development. When people are like having the worst day ever, if you're making coffee for someone, you still got to smile, if that's your
Yeah.
business. But as a
True.
but that thing in terms of, when you see someone, you can feel that they're miserable, but they're like,
Yeah, it's pretend. It's pretend, and I feel like it's kind of a pressure we put on ourselves, maybe society puts on us as well. And I don't know, I've had this conversation a lot where I think your truth, your vulnerabilities are your strengths.
mm,
Um, Actually, I remember when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was always trying to be a positive person, but if I'd be truthful, I didn't believe it myself.
mm,
And obviously, I know when I was diagnosed with cancer, my biggest thing was, I was afraid, but I, I was like, okay, bring it on. Because I always had this mantra of feel the fear and do it anyway. I think my dance background always gave me that. And, but I remember if I'd be 100% truthful at one stage, I was so afraid that if I allowed any negativity in, it might kill me. Like that might be the reason I don't get through.
mm,
And I remember contemplating that for some time, and it made me realize that you can't pretend. You can't pretend. As much as you can be hopeful, well, I don't think it warrants it. I
mm.
don't think it does. So for me, it was like I actually had to let go of that and accept I'm not happy. I've just been told I have cancer, and this is really crap. And I think when I actually allowed myself to just accept that and in some means trust that black hole that I was going to go through, I think acceptance, you accept it and then you're given the opportunity to make a choice on how you're going to handle it. And ultimately, I think that's the test of positivity and choice, like having choice.
Mm.
It's okay to turn around and say, this is crap. And I feel like this is not right. And I think our human instinct makes us go, well, well, for me anyway, I'm not going to lie down. My mantra's always been, or I have it on my fridge actually, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, and I think that's our instinct as human beings. So, it just gives you the opportunity to stand up to that, right?
Yeah.
But you got to admit, you've got to accept that we're not invincible. We're not. I never thought I would go through what I've gone through. But I'm kind of glad I have, because it's made me a better version of myself. So, of course, that's positive,
Oh, I like that too. I think one of the things, when we first chatted, I think I was down in Melbourne at the time, and you're in Sydney, and Andy had connected us up, and we were having a different conversation then. And what I loved in that thing, one of the highlights of that conversation, that was supposed to be about half an hour. I think you and I talked for 2 hours or something. It's perfect. And what was interesting is this, one of the things you shared with me, because I looked at it, well, if you've got cancer, do you really want to be around people with cancer? And you stopped for a moment. You said to me, I love being there for those precious moments of life, something along those lines where, those last chapters of people's life, they really fucking get it. All of a sudden, all the other shit doesn't matter. All of a sudden, it's just, you realize that all this other stuff is just surface level, but deeper than that is love. Deeper than that is there's things, and you articulated a girl that you'd become close with. And I'd have to check down what the name is. And, I meet so many people, and I'm not. Yeah.
16-year-old dancer. She's now dancing in heaven, and amazing human. I met her for 3 days, and I felt like she impacted my life. She still does. She's my guide. She, she makes awesome stuff happen, and that's why I know she's still around. So, impacted my life and forever changed me yet again. So, precious moment, beautiful blessing, and how do you explain sometimes, that's what I mean with things. Sometimes I feel like lately with things that I've gone through, because, I'm still dealing with the cancer or whatever it is, like, I just think bottom line is, though, it's like sometimes I guess I'm still learning too, there's an acceptance of, sometimes we don't get the big messages, and we don't have to understand the big meanings of these things. Sometimes just shit happens. Like, how do you explain a 16-year-old girl not being on this planet when she has so much to offer? I remember I said to her, I'd trade places with her instantly. But I guess that's just the course, isn't it? And so while we're here, make the most of it, good and bad. Like, go through the struggles so you become better and you learn more about yourself. Like, I find that really rewarding and something that encourages me a lot. But at some stage you do have to turn around and say, okay, I'm done. Enough, maybe, I don't know. I wish I had those answers, but I wish it was simple enough to just go, and that's what I mean. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is what it is, and you've just got to go, okay, well, how am I going to handle it? That seems to be the thing that you always come back to, right?
Yeah, for sure. I always fascinated, like back many years ago, I've been curious since I was a kid, and we're talking off when we weren't recording before about what it was like as a kid. And that thing, like when I was a kid, I was still super curious. I remember asking things, why do bad things happen to good people? I've seen, and it's just a funny thing in these conversations of humanity, we just all seek to come to a different awareness, whether it's through religion or personal development or spirituality or consciousness. But I've been playing with it lately with the conversations we've been having. How do we look at all of the things? Sometimes we start doing personal development, so we stop watching television. And, to be honest, I don't have time to watch television. It's not on my radar, but it's not like if it's there, I don't want to not look at it. I want to, so I'm looking at these things, how many things are we resisting? And I'm just playing with that now, because imagine some of the people that are going to be watching this later, other people are going to be challenged with cancer. How do we get to that place where we don't resist it anymore? I wonder what that'd be like.
I'd say my recollection of it, and I guess thank you for making me aware of this again, because, it's always a journey, and I think I call it, we have our human experiences. Like for me, the magic of going through what I went through is it did give me some incredible insight. And I'm not sure, you get caught in this fogginess. It's the drugs. It's, I mean, I did what I did, but I don't know that I'd do that the same way again, as in with chemotherapy and stuff like that. But, I will never know to this day, did it save my life or did it nearly kill me? Probably both. I don't know. But for me, like now, like I'm invested in, I believe that the respect of the planet, and it has all the medicines we need. I think that in turn, the respect of humanity. I just think if you're capable of tapping into that, and then you're disciplined enough to kind of effortlessly be insightful in just allowing your life to live like that, then I call that the kind of not human experience, because you're more spiritual, right? You're more in touch with the truth of who we are and maybe why we're here. And even if you don't know why you're here, there's just that bliss. Like there's nothing more beautiful of, I remember going when I was well enough to go on walks, just being totally like blissed out on the amazing assortment of plants and flowers, and just kind of laughing at myself for being so in tune with it in such a different dimension. And therefore I feel like that's when I'm not being human, or that's when I'm being a blissful human that accepts those magical things. Because I think we forget to do that. So maybe being, trusting, experiencing a lot more. That's the reminder that I try and give myself. And thanks, Brock, for bringing me back into that space.
It's just a gorgeous space, right? We talked about it too. Like when you go on holidays, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm free.
Yeah.
Then we get into what we frame as the ordinary life, and all of a sudden life's fucking tough. I've been playing with that philosophy for a while now. You've got that name, the Lifetarian, where I don't want to live this when I'm on a retreat. I don't want to live this when I'm just at an event. I want to live this, wake up every day and love my freaking life, or change it.
Yeah, true. And it's really that simple.
But it's that thing.
Really, yeah.
I was going to say that too. Like we often wait till we're sick or we're having challenges. Like it's almost like the whole universe brings us back into balance somehow.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucking weird how it all works, Like it's just, I don't even know how it all works, but it's interesting, right?
Well, I think you listen to your heart and your spirit. Like, okay, I had an operation where I had to have some lymph nodes taken out on Tuesday, and I was back in the studio on Thursday with my arm in a sling, and everyone was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm either really crazy or really awesome, but the feeling it gave me and the focus it gave me was so much better than sitting in bed kind of being bored and going, okay, I'm in this situation. Life goes on, and making the most of it and doing what you love is always going to feed your spirit with more awesomeness. So why would you not do that for yourself? So yeah, I agree with you 150%. It's really kind of, you got to keep it simple. I got to keep it simple, and I don't know, truth and love. Sometimes it's hard and it's confronting, but I don't think it's as bad as we think it is. That black hole or getting over that side of the fence. I think if you actually commit to doing it, you're there before you even start. So I just would encourage more and more people to do that, myself included. Because it's what makes the difference. And I think the more you do that, it's like a habit. For me, I'm a trained dancer, so we go into the studio and we do things over and over, that becomes muscle memory. So that should be your muscle memory.
Yeah, I like having those things. What's that?
That's fun. Ultimately.
I love fun stuff. I love just that thing. Like, what brings us in so we have absolute presence and attention in each moment? And then how do we evolve and challenge ourselves through all of it? And learn and grow and contribute and play the most magical game of life. That's all I'm interested in. But what I like, so I just had a conversation with another guy you'd love too. He's a chiropractor.
Yeah.
And a coach and a number of other things.
Yeah.
But he's about to do a retreat. So it's funny, he's coming back into this thing where all of a sudden he's a bit nervous about it. He's got some of the fears coming up. The same stuff that he shares with his clients is happening for him. And it's just a fun evolution to do it. But I love that, like with your expression is, this is what I love. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a different analogy, but it's a similar analogy for me is like, when I was going through and I had a relapse and, I was stuck. I was like, I don't know what to do, but I just, a lot of people were scared to kind of go. I was doing natural healing as well as, you know, obviously going into the hospital. And I would, when I was in that crossroad, and that's what I mean, sometimes you just have to be patient. You have to trust the process, and your inner voice always tells you what's right. It's
Mm.
called instinct, and it was as simple as I go in and I get shot up with drugs, and I'm there telling myself, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Or I go and I see my Chinese doctor who does acupuncture, and I'm blissing out for an hour and I'm starting to see this future. And then I come home and I have energy to walk my dog around the block, and I actually start seeing my future. It's like, I'm going to weigh that up. Which one am I going to want to do more? It's, so hence it was just that, and I just think you've got to do daily practices, like we tell you, habits of whatever. If you struggle with that, and that's not natural for you, you just continue with that. You do something every day that your future self is going to thank you for.
I
That
like
was my mantra forward. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. That might just be take a bath,
hmm
light a candle, sit
hmm
still for 5 seconds, or it might be go to the gym, work out. I don't know.
hmm
Whatever that individual wants. So, yeah.
It's fun to have
It's
all
about
those. I was just saying, it's so fun to have all those rituals with people. I I share a lot of these things with people, with clients, and I just share it with people anyway because it's fun. But
yeah.
these things of like, your life is magical, your life is sacred, your life is enchanted. Let's start treating it like it. I think we've gotten so caught up in the mind about what's going on that we miss that. But I want to go back for a second because something you touched on, I think it's going to be relevant to the people listening.
Okay.
It's this thing where, all of a sudden you're in fear. It doesn't matter what the situation is. You've had plenty. One of them has been in the form of cancer. All of a sudden you're freaking out. You've got
Yeah.
cancer. Your hippie friends are telling you, don't do chemo, fucking do this, blah, blah, blah. And then you're freaking out internally dialogue. You're in fight or flight mode. You got everything going on. Then you got the doctor screaming down your leg. My friend had it recently. One of my clients up in Cairns and friend, all of a sudden someone's leading her down. The doctor straight away, as soon as she had cancer, they're like, it's not even her body anymore, is the experience that she had. She almost had to just go, fucking stop. Like, just give me a couple of days to decide what I want to do. This is not your decision. This is my life.
Yeah.
And I think that can happen in the form of parenting. That can happen in the form of career where people blink and they miss their life. And I want to talk about that because I think that's just a big point we can get to there. When you're freaking out and all this stuff's going on for you right now, when you had that experience, however long it was, all of a sudden, I'm X age, I have cancer, what the fuck? I'm swearing a lot on this call. I don't normally swear that much in the call, but it seems to be relevant. Yeah, yeah, like, what's going on? How do you trust that knowing then? Because it's easy to do when you're at Byron Bay, sipping on green juice, in the sunshine and fresh air. It's really easy. No biggie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I feel called to go up and meditate on top of the hill. I feel called to go to the Crystal Palace. Easy to do that then. But when life's slamming you,
Mm-hmm.
how did you find that guidance? Like, just talk me through that. Run through it because I think that's going to be relevant today to people.
Hmm.
And all the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. Don't give me a spiritual answer. Give me like what goes on in that situation.
Um, it comes out. Doesn't matter if you try and hide it. It comes out like you. For me, I don't know. I didn't have a choice. It's just it's a progression.
Mm-hmm.
You I think for me, sorry if it sounds spiritual, but it's the truth. It's I just I found inspiration in other things, and I've always done that. I've met many people on my journey that, I know we can always say someone's going through something worse off, and 9 times out of 10 they are. And, it's a long journey for anybody going through it. I think immediately, obviously, when you're told you have cancer, I can remember that moment like it was clear. You're in complete denial.
Mm.
It's like it's a fog. It's like, you, excuse me. And I didn't tell anyone for a week. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want it to be real. So I don't know how I processed that. I think you just time. Ultimately, you can feel the fear. You're scared. You cry. You're angry. You're freaking out. I don't know. I cocooned a little bit. You know, I tended to cocoon. That's the type of person I am. I don't like to put burdens on people. My logic is, it's my crap. I have to deal with it. So best I deal with it. But through that, I did open up a lot more and allow people to help me. I'm still pretty independent and I'm still pretty like, I got this, but I love that about myself. And I've learned to love it about myself. Now I see a strength in it. But, you know, support, and that's what I mean, kindness is like, and it's okay too if you don't know what to say, just, I don't know, I think a lot of people didn't know what to say to me. And, that was hard sometimes because you just felt like going, just say it's shit because it is shit, but it doesn't mean that it's going to stay shit. You know, it's just, or just say, I don't know what to say. I just think being honest. But it's hard because some people don't do honesty well. Sometimes people blurt things out and you're just like, okay, maybe think about that before you say it. But I don't know. It's just acceptance. It's just owning it too. I owned it. I was like, I'm scared, you know, and then I just made choices from it. So much what we were talking about before. As I said, for me, the thought of children going through what I was going through. I remember the first time I came home from chemotherapy, I was like, I think my mom was, it wasn't the first time they were overseas, but at one stage when, I never wanted anyone to come to chemo with me. That was my sacred moment. Weird. I don't know. It was my moment where I just had to deal with it and handle it. And I guess too, I was aware of making other people go through that. Like, I think it's traumatic enough for people watching their loved ones go through something like that. I was in a situation where I had to do it by myself. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So it was good. But I remember that, like, I was in a lot of pain and going, how the hell do the kids do this with a smile on their face? And I still don't know that answer, apart from we can learn a lot from them, that magic and that innocence. And maybe it's because they're unaware that they don't really know, but then I think they do. I don't know. And I just promised if the kids can do it, I can do it. And I just never complained. So that's how I was just like, and I never actually was afraid again, if that made sense. Like, I just remember going, I hate feeling like this. This really sucks. And there were days like, I don't know, you just slept. You just, it's not a pretty picture. I'm not going to paint a pretty picture. It's horrible.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. You just process through it. I don't know. For me, my mind was very strong. As I said, I was like, the kids were the inspiration. And I thought if they can do it, then George, I can do it. So I just did it. So I don't know. And I think the fear, to be honest with you, like I remember going on stage when the cancer was spreading. What the fear was the lack of control, and realizing I can think, I can do, I can try everything in my power, but ultimately I don't have any control over this. When they say your cancer's spreading, and it's like, okay, I might actually die, Then for me, it was the evaluation of what do I regret? And I didn't really regret anything apart from maybe the fact that I hadn't had a child. That was a really big thing. But everything else, I was like, well, I'm good. And then for me, you just become, well, if I made a promise, if I get through this, I will try very hard not to take anything for granted ever again. And live life with this magic that I've been given. So I don't know. I don't remember being afraid as such. Weird. I was, but I just don't remember it being a big thing. I think, again, it's that acceptance of, And just belief for me, probably actually the thing through fear was the belief in myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the boom, was like, I keep believing until I'm not here otherwise to believe, I guess, what can you do? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. It's just good to get insights for people. I'm always fascinated about these different experiences of life. Like I always share a bit about the inside of my life. I have times where it's tough and easy and all kinds of things. And it does look like I live a pretty charmed life, I have to say, because I just travel the world and have the best time ever. And it's cool. I'm blessed. I'm really, really grateful for it. The thing for me is if I choose to go against what I'm here to do and what I feel, whatever that truth is in each moment, life's really tough. And if I just choose to be guided, it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is the whole internal dialogue of something, when I go on an adventure, Christy's done it so many times with me where I don't have the time, the resources, anything to do it. I just go. And it's interesting just playing with it because often we wait until cancer or something to live our life this way. I'm curious how, like just in terms of that, having that conversation around cancer, where would you like it to go? Like often when people have the conversation around cancer, it's probably pretty similar, but where would you like the conversation around cancer or people to go within humanity?
I would like there to not be cancer.
Mm.
And I think from my personal experience, and everybody's uniquely themselves, so I totally respect that. But for me, the awareness of really just being really simple, treat people how you would like to be treated, and it's okay to, you don't have to judge someone because we don't know what everybody else is going through. We don't know, everybody has a story. And I just think if people became probably a little bit more, there's a lot of really beautiful, compassionate people in the world. So, I just feel like things are a bit out of balance. And maybe that's the lesson we need to come back to learning as human beings, is just balance stuff up. It's okay to strive and be successful, but at the end of the day, if you achieve that, I always personally feel like there's going to be something missing.
Mm.
And so I think if people were honest with themselves to tap in and not be afraid to really face their truth and accept their truth and continue to grow and nourish and, I don't know, support. The biggest thing that saddens me, and I think I take it on the whole world, and emotionally it's probably a little bit why I have gone through cancer, is it hurts me. It really hurts me when I see people disrespect one another, humans, animals, and I don't understand it.
Mm.
I don't think there's no need for it. If you look back at the purity of childhood, like we are taught racism, we are taught judgment, we are taught jealousy, we are taught disrespect, we are taught, and I think it comes down to ultimately a self-love. And that's something that that relationship you're having with your life, yourself every day.
Mm-hmm.
If you be truthful, there's going to be days where you either go, I'm fantastic, I love, this is awesome, life is great, and then something's going to come your way that you kind of, I always have this theory with students and stuff. I'm like, don't get too up yourself because you're going to be reminded, and it doesn't mean that you stop feeling awesome. I think ultimately everybody wants to feel awesome. And that's the truth of it. And who says that you or I deserve to feel more awesome than anybody else in this world? That's maybe as simple as it is. I've seen a lot of beautiful, real kind gestures from people that have nothing.
Yeah.
And that inspires me like no tomorrow.
Third world countries, you'll sit down with people that have nothing. Just sit next to them. They've got nothing, and they'll pull out their bowl of rice and go, do you want half? And some of the things that I like to do now is emulate that, because I just, if I'm having something someone doesn't like, do you want it?
Yeah.
If someone says they like a shirt that I'm wearing that day, I'm like, do you want it? I don't want to say there's too much because everyone might just all of a sudden, I'll be nude. I'll be walking around nude. I like your boxers. I like your shorts. It could be funny. But anyway, it's interesting. I want to go with, we just got a couple more minutes before I got to jump off and head to something else. But I want to say this. What are 5 tips for self-love or abundant self-care? 5 tips, real quick, you can share with people. Because people
Well,
often don't take care of themselves. It's just what it is, particularly in Western countries.
yeah, I think laughter, seeing the
Yeah.
funny side, even in your only silliness, like even if you're having a stress or something like that, being able to laugh at yourself, and laughter is the best medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, find something that responds to you. Like for me, music. It's like doesn't matter what I do, how I feel, music, whether I put on music, I feel like it communicates, it connects, it makes you feel, it sometimes makes you reflect. So music, or find your own passion. I think if you have something that you personally struggle with, do the opposite
Mm-hmm.
and make that a religious thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was always really neglectful to actually really nurture my body through my foods. I wasn't interested in food growing up. I've been in the dance industry. Sometimes it can be confusing, different things. So to me, I make sure every day I do something that I enjoy tasting, or I make smart choices. So that's probably 3 in there, right?
Mm-hmm. 2 more.
Yeah. Get out in nature, definitely.
I like that one.
Definitely do something in nature, whether it's just sit on your porch and look at nature for a bit. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the gifts. Yeah.
And one more.
Just make life you make life what it is. So make it awesome.
I like that.
Awesome. Whether it's just being kind to yourself, being kind to somebody else, appreciation, gratitude. It's really simple. I remember, as an example, my parents at one stage was like, "Why do you always thank us? Stop thanking." I'm like, no. That will never stop, because it makes me appreciate gratitude. So I'm winning from it too. And also it makes you feel appreciated. And why is that a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's so powerful. I like those tips. I'm
Yeah.
going to share one with you because I share this with everyone I'm speaking to lately. You might have seen on my Facebook.
Yeah.
You take 30 to 60 seconds a day where you put your hands out like this,
Mm.
and you just start to think about all the people you love.
Mm.
Until you get to the point where you actually think about all the different people on the planet. So I do, the masterminds I do, and I coach people and stuff. But what I was doing behind the scenes was experimenting with some of my spiritual gifts. I was like, cool, I'll put them through this process, but I wonder if I do some of these things, what happens? And it's been interesting to see things fluctuate and self-orchestrate, and some of the connections that we have just coming together and flowing together.
Yeah.
Can I 100% say it works, yes or no? Who knows? I'm not a scientist, but I love experimenting with life.
I
And
think you know when it works though, right?
big time, because then people wake up and they feel it, or I've got that intention now because a lot of people around the world know me. I just say when people think of me, they feel amazing. So I'm looking at all these different things that we can utilize with language, with consciousness, with everything, so we can bless one another in a cool way. But this thing I'm challenging people lately, I'm playing with the idea for a show at the moment, and also starting a bit of an idea called Dare to Be Your Greatness. I thought I'd share it with you now because it's fun. And essentially, Dare to Be Your Greatness is, you just challenge one another to go out and do things that either scared you or you didn't think you could or whatever it was. That's what I did as a kid. I dared people to do stuff. And sometimes it wasn't to be their greatness. Sometimes it was to do the naughty stuff. But back then, everyone else would get in trouble and I wouldn't. I could never quite figure it out. My whole life's kind of been like that. Always seemed to be just a little bit ahead. Just things just worked out. I don't know why. I feel blessed. Don't try and figure it out too much. When I do, it slows me down. But when I just go into that path, I'm like, well, how do I then impact one another? Like, how do we impact more people in such a way that we can all live the best life ever, whatever the fuck that means to each of us? But I've been playing with that thing where we do a blessing experiment. So every day in your practice, as part of your meditation or afterwards, put your hands out. Imagine you've got the whole world in your hands. Whether you like the cradle underneath or on top, more like this, whatever you feel, but you can probably feel it right now energetically. And it's such a thing, like when you just do it, because then I don't know, for me, it feels great. And I've been meeting more people lately where they go, I feel like I know you, Brock. And I'm getting this sense because I'm playing with the dreams more But it's almost like I've been in people's dreams. We've all experienced one another in the oneness in the infinite. How do we live more in that? That's what I'm playing with lately, and I thought I'd share it with you because it might be relevant. One for yourself, two for the community that you're part of.
Yeah.
And just thinking, how do we heal these things that, so far with nutrition and science and spiritual everything, it's not done. How do we do this so it doesn't just happen for a moment? Like, we meditate, it definitely helps us over time. And there's been experiments where people would go to New York and meditate for all day and the crime rate went down. But
yeah, that's my daily practice too. I don't know whether I said that. Meditation, it changes my life, and love and light. I know that sounds corny or whatever, but there's truth in it. I think any scenario, if you come back to the truth of you feel the anger, you feel whatever emotion you want to project, and then you always come back to that. If I come from a loving and truthful scenario and I offer that, life isn't that difficult.
Yeah,
it normally works out. You come from that real compassionate love, and it's your own love that you're offering. So ultimately you're respecting yourself. So how's that not going to heal anything?
It's cool, huh?
I like it. It's
been good to have you here. I'm going to jump off in a second, but the final comment I want you to make is this. There's a foundation you're affiliated with that might be relevant. I can put it in comments later. But what's it called? You told me about it before.
I'm Dancer Against Cancer. Yeah, it's actually based in LA, and we're just launching and bringing it out here. And I'm very proud to say that I'm the Australian director of it. And we've got our first hope story, a young little girl, Sienna. And sending you love and light, Sienna. You got this, girl.
We love you. It's cool. We'll send it through this if she can watch it, because she'll appreciate that. But it's just fun to have these conversations. The more we have these conversations, I like to record them because then people can watch it and they seem to enjoy them and get these lessons and start to apply more of these things. We've got these tools like YouTube and Facebook and social media. So let's always just look at the ways we can use it to benefit humanity and bless one another. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon. That's how I say it. I'm surprised we didn't bump into each other in Sydney that time, but it wasn't meant to be yet. I'll see you soon.
Maybe LA, hey?
Yeah.
I'll see you. You take care. Much love. And thank you so much for being your awesome self.
It's a pleasure.
Rockstar.
Yeah. See ya.